Good afternoon, class. This is a section of analytic geometry, section 10.0, about the circle. So the objectives are to use the distance formula, the midpoint formula, write the standard form of the equation of a circle, graph a circle, work with a general form of the equation of a circle. Identify and describe the conic sections. Conic sections are geometric figures formed by the intersection of a plane with a cone. The types of conic sections include: number one, circle. When the plane intersects one of the cones perpendicular to its axis, the resulting shape is a circle. When the plane intersects ellipse. When the plane intersects one of the cones at an angle not perpendicular to its axis, the resulting shape is an ellipse. Parabola. If the plane is parallel to one of the sides of the cone, the intersection is a parabola. Hyperbola. When the plane intersects both naps or sides of the cone parallel to its axis, the resulting shape is a hyperbola. These shapes have various properties and applications in mathematics, physics, engineering, and other fields. Distance formula. The distance d between 2 points with coordinates x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2 can be found by using the formula d equals square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared, and it just comes from Pythagorean theorem, because if you want this distance, as you can see, this is a right triangle. So this is A, this is B, this is C. So we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared, Pythagorean theorem. So this distance is basically y sub 2 minus y sub 1. This distance is x sub 2 minus x sub 1, and you square it, and you get the hypotenuse. So distance between P1 and P2 is x sub 2 minus x sub 1. The distance between, this is the absolute value, represents the distance between x sub 2 and x sub 1, quantity squared, plus the distance between y sub 2 minus sub y sub 1, quantity squared, and the formula that you see here for distance, everybody. Find the distance d between these 2 points. One has coordinates 1, 3, the other one is 5, 6. We just follow that and we put it in. So basically we can draw this and we say 5 minus 1, that would be x sub 2 minus x sub 1, which is 4. And then 6 minus 3, which would be y sub 2 minus y sub 1, 3. And square it, and that's d squared according to Pythagorean theorem. This is 16. This is 9. They add up to 25, and the distance is the square root of that, which is 5. So given it on a rectangular coordinate system makes it easy, but in general, if 2 points are given, you follow the formula and you write the distance formula. So x sub 2 minus x sub 1, so minus 1 minus 2, quantity squared, plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1, 3 minus negative 4, quantity squared, And this is negative 3 squared. This is positive 7. 3 minus minus 4 is positive 7. And so this is 9. This is 49. And the answer is precisely square root of 58. Approximation depends on how many decimals you are asked to put. If they don't ask you, you have to go with the exact answer. The midpoint formula and its derivation. So you have P1, P2, P1 having coordinates x sub 1 and y sub 1, P2 having coordinates x sub 2, y sub 2, and you want the midpoint. Midpoint meaning this distance. P1M and MP2 are identical. So if we take line segment P1, P2 with midpoint M, we can draw all of the blue lines, drop the perpendicular to the x-axis, drop the perpendicular to the y-axis, or you can say these two are parallel to the y-axis and these two are parallel to the x-axis. All vertical lines are parallel and all horizontal lines are parallel. These two are parallel, these two are parallel. In other words, this one, and this one are parallel. This one, and this one are parallel. Now, because parallel lines yield congruent pairs of corresponding angles, that means angle 1 is equal to angle 3, angle 2 is equal to angle 4. Of course, this is 90 degrees. And we know that this is the midpoint P1M equals MP2. So we have that the two triangles, P1AM and P2BM are identical or congruent, and that uses the angle, side angle. Now, this one has the midpoint as coordinates x we are looking for and y we are looking for. So x minus x is right here, right? X minus x sub 1 equals x sub 2 minus x, because this distance is identical to this distance because the two are identical. And so we move things around. Divide by 2. And x is x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2. We do the same thing with the y's. Y minus y1, this distance is equal to y2 minus y, this distance, because again, the two are identical. And we move things around in the same manner and divide by 2. And the midpoint has the formula x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. So if we want the midpoint for these two pairs, 4 plus 2 divided by 2, which makes it 6 halves or 3. Negative 2 and negative 5, add them up, divide by 2, we get negative 7 halves. The midpoint is located at 3 comma negative 7 halves. Find the midpoint of the line segment. P1 has coordinates negative 5, 5. P2 has coordinates 3, 1. Plot the points and their midpoint. Well, negative 5, positive 5, 3, comma 1. We connect them, and x is the sum of the x coordinates minus 5 and 3, which makes it 2 divided by 2, negative 2 divided by 2 makes it negative 1. And then we add up the y coordinates, 5 plus 1 divided by 2, 6 halves or 3. And the midpoint has coordinates negative 1, comma 3. Plot the points A with coordinates negative 2, 1, B with coordinates 2, 3, C with coordinates 3, 1, to form a triangle ABC. So we do that. Find the length of each side. So we are going to find the length of each side using the distance formula. For example, the distance between A and B would be x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So 2 minus negative 2 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1, 3 minus 1 quantity squared. So that would be AB. And this is a plus 2 makes it 4 squared, 16. 3 minus 1, 2 squared is 4. The answer is square root of 20. As you know, 20 is 4 times 5. 4 comes out as 2. So 2 square root of 5 precisely. We want to keep it as a precise answer. We find this distance. We use the same formula. And so 3 minus 2 quantity squared, 1 minus 3 quantity squared. And by the way, the reason order is not important because it gets squared up and it fixes the problem anyways. If it's negative, doesn't matter. If it's positive, doesn't matter. If it's squared up, becomes positive. So this is 1 squared is 1. This is negative 2 squared is 4. And they add up to 5, square root of 5. Now we want to find AC. By the way, you may notice because they have the same y coordinates, you can say 3 minus minus 2, which is 5. You can do it that way. Okay. Since they have the same, if they have one of the coordinates that are the same, you can do it that way. So, but anyways, going with the distance formula, we have 3 minus negative 2 quantity squared plus 1 minus 1 quantity squared. And this is 0, this is 5. Square it, you get 25. And take it out, you get 5. Now, we did part A, we did part B. Is this a right triangle? Pythagorean theorem says A squared plus B squared is C squared. That is true for a right triangle. So we look at A squared plus B squared to see if it's C squared. In other words, we look at AB squared plus BC squared to see if we get AC squared. So AB squared, that means square this one. And by the way, it's easier to deal with this is 20. And BC squared, that means square this one, that's 5. They add up to 25. And that is equal to AC squared. Yes, this is a right triangle. Find its area. Well, to find the area, because it's a right triangle, this may not show it good. Because it's a right triangle, we can use area is 1/2 base times the height, where the two legs are the base. 1/2 of this times that, 1/2 of square root of 5 times 2 square root of 5. I hope you recognize that 2's cancel each other as follows. This one cancel out this one. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5, and you're done. Now, this was a right triangle, and we could use that. But what if it wasn't? We could use a different theorem. Note area of a triangle from sides. If the sides are given, using a formula that has been known for nearly 2,000 years, it is called Heron's formula after hero of Alexandria. Step 1, calculate S. So what is S? Half of the triangle's perimeter, or it's called semi-perimeter. Add A, B, C. Add all sides, divide by 2. Then calculate the area as follows. Area is equal to the square root of S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C. You can use that theorem, but it was easier to use half of base times height because it was a right triangle. Okay, everybody? So that makes it much easier. Find a point with y coordinates of -6, whose distance from the point 1, 2 is 17. Use Pythagorean theorem, use distance formula. Well, we have a rectangular coordinate system. We locate 1, 2, and we want the y coordinates to be -6, so we can see that the line y equals -6. Every point on this line has a y coordinate of -6 with whatever the x coordinate may be, depending on the location. So we are looking for points on this line. So there are a couple of points that follow that, and we don't know their location. But if you look at this right triangle, we want this distance or this distance to be 17, hypotenuse. This or this is 17. Now, one leg is this. Remember, this distance is 6 because it's -6, and this distance is 2. 2 and 6, they add up to 8. In other words, you should recognize this is 8, this is 17, and this side is missing. So again, just to cover that one more time. Find the points with y coordinates -6. So we have a couple of points here. Whose distance from 1 to is 17. So this is 17. This is also 17. Let me just put this one also. This is also 17. Okay. What is this distance? Because y equals -6 from the x-axis to this is 6. And from here to here is 2 because it has coordinates 1, 2. So from here to here, it's 8. So if you look at the right side or the left side, doesn't matter. One leg is 8, hypotenuse is 17. Find b using Pythagorean theorem. Therefore, 8 squared plus b squared equals 17 squared. So you do the math. This is 64. This is 289. Subtract from it, you get 225, and square root of that, b becomes 15. So this distance b is 50. And let me use a different color. And so is this distance, right? So think about this. Now this point in right here has the same x coordinate as this one. So the x coordinate for this point is 1. And you are going to go 15 units to the right, 15 units to the left. When we go 15 units to the right, the x coordinate is 16. When we go 15 units to the left, 1 minus that is negative 14. So we get this one has 1 minus 6, this point. 1 minus 15 is negative 14. 1 plus 15 is 16. Points are negative 14, negative 6, this one, and 16 minus 6. Very straightforward, everybody. The second method is using the distance formula between 1, 2 and these 2 points. These 2 points, we know the y coordinate to be negative 6 and the x coordinate is missing. We need to figure it out if we want to go with the distance formula. So we use the distance formula, the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1, quantity squared, plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1, quantity squared. So we can say 1 minus x quantity squared plus 2 minus 6 or plus 6 quantity squared. This is 8. This is 1 minus 2x plus x squared. This is 64. Okay, class? Again, this is 8. This is 64. And this one I put it in it. So this is 1 minus 2x plus x squared. And I put it in descending order. So what happens here, this one and this one, they add up to 65. This is equal to 17. So if you square both sides, x squared minus 2x plus 65 is 289. And we are going to move 289 subtracted from the right side, and we end up with negative 224. And this one, you can use quadratic formula or you can factor it easily. And x is negative 14 or positive 16, as we had found previously using Pythagorean theorem. The circle. A circle is the set of points in a plane that are the same distance, called the radius, from a fixed point called the center. Circle with the center at the origin and radius r as the formula x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And it comes from, again, Pythagorean theorem. This distance is x, this distance is y. And so x squared plus y squared is the hypotenuse squared, which is r squared. Circle with its center at h and k and radius r has the formula x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. If x and y is a point on the circle, then by the definition of a circle and the distance formula, it follows that r is the square root of x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared, and squaring both sides tells us x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. When that happens, and again, you're looking at cone where the plane cuts it perpendicular to its axis or axis of symmetry. Graph circles with center at the origin. In this case, the center is at 0, 0, and according to this formula, r is square root of 16 or 4. And so basically, you can look at those 4 points. This is a 4, 0, negative 4, 0, 0, 4, and 0, negative 4, and put them together. X squared plus y squared equals 10. Center is at 0, 0, and r is square root of 10, roughly 3.16. And this is about 3.16, negative 3.16, 0, comma 3.16, 0, comma negative 3.16, just to give you an idea. Write the standard form of the equation of a circle with radius 4 and center 2, comma negative 4. We just follow this formula, and we write x minus 2 quantity squared plus y minus negative 4. That means y plus 4 quantity squared equals 4 squared or 16. Write the standard form of the equation of a circle with radius 5 and center at negative 3, 6. So x minus negative 3, that means x plus 3 squared, plus y minus 6 quantity squared equals 5 squared or 25. Write the standard form of the equation of a circle with radius 10 and center at the origin. So x squared plus y squared equals 10 squared or 100. Determine the equation of a circle shown below. It is centered at negative 3, comma 2. The radius is this distance. As you can see, since they have the same y coordinate, the distance between the two x coordinates is 3. So x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. That means x plus 3 quantity squared plus y minus 2 squared equals r squared or 9. So x plus 3 squared minus minus plus y minus 2 squared equals 9. That's the standard form. Everybody? Find the center and radius of the circle and draw the graph. Well, when you compare it to this one, you notice it's centered at negative 2, positive 1. Radius is square root of 9 or 3. So this is the center, and the radius is 3. Now, let's make up 4 points. Meaning, from the center, go r units to the right, to the left, to the top, and to the bottom. So go back here and add 3 units to 1, you get minus 2, 4. Subtract 3 units from 1, you get negative 2, negative 2. Then you keep the 1 intact, add 3, and you get 1, 1. Subtract 3, and you get minus 5, 1. So those are the 4 points. Again, add 3 and subtract 3, you get these two. Same thing here. Subtract 3, add 3. So those are the 2 points above and below. Those are the 2 points to the right and left. Roughly, this is the graph. I hope everybody is comfortable with that. Example 10. Find the center and radius of the circle and draw the graph x squared plus 8x plus y squared minus 6y equals 60. You want to put this in standard form, which means you're going to put these two together, you're going to put these two together, and you're going to move the 16. Now, complete this square. This is b. If you divide it by 2, you get 4. If you square it, you need 16. So for this parentheses, you are going to add 16, which means you are going to add 16 to the others. For this one, b is negative 6. Divided by 2 is negative 3. Square it is positive 9. So you need to add 9. And so this is what you get. 16 for the first, 9 for the second, and this one is x plus 4 squared, b over 2. This one is y minus 3, again, b over 2 squared, equals 9, which means it is centered at negative 4, positive 3, with the radius square root of 9 or 3. So we're going to make up 4 points. So the radius is 3. You can keep the x, subtract 3, you get 0, add 3, you get 6. You can keep the 3, subtract 3, you get minus 7, you add 3, you get negative 1. So this is the center, negative 4, 3. We get 2 points, one at the bottom, one at the top, with the distance of r, or 3 units. Now from the center, go to the right and left by 3 units. And now draw, and it looks something like this. The purpose of those 4 points is to just give you an idea how you can graph this. Find the center, the radius, and the graph, and then graph the circle 3x squared plus 3y squared minus 12x plus 18y equals 9. So 3x squared, okay, and negative 12x, they come together. 3y squared and 18y come together, and the constant goes to the other side. It's already there. Notice we can divide by 3 and make life easier that way, because everything is divisible by 3. So if I divide by 3, this becomes x squared, this becomes y squared, this becomes minus 4x, this becomes plus 6y, and this becomes 3. So I'm going to put x squared and minus 4x together. I'm going to put y squared and 6y together, and 3 is on the other side. What do I need here? Here's b. Divided by 2 is negative 2. And if you square that, you get positive 4. So you need to add 4 to both sides. This one, b is 3. b over 2 is 3. b over 2 squared is 3 squared, or 9. So we need to add 4 for the first parentheses, 9 for the second parentheses, and we add it to both sides. This is x minus 2 squared. This is y plus 3 squared. 3 and 4, 7 and 9, they add up to 16. Which means the circle is centered at 2, negative 3 with the radius 4, square root of 16. Now, the 4 points, just all you have to do, look at this, go 4 units to the right and left, and 4 units up and down, okay? So if you add 4, you get 1. If you subtract 4, you get minus 7. If you add 4, you get 6. If you subtract 4, you get minus 2. And it looks like that. So from the center, 2, negative 3, you add 4 units and you subtract 4 units from the x. You also add 4 units, so you subtract 4 units to the y. So those are the 4 points that will help us graph. So take a look at what we have here. It's really nice. It explains everything. Find an equation of a circle that has center at negative 2, 3 and contains the point 4, comma 5. So we have the center and we have 1 point. In order to come up with the equation of a circle, we need the center, we have it. And we need the radius. All we have to do, find the distance between these 2 points, and that becomes a radius. So the radius is this distance. So we use the distance formula. X sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. So P is on the circle. Radius is the distance between the C and P. Which means the distance formula. So we are going to say 4 minus minus 2, that means plus 2 quantity squared, plus 5 minus 3 quantity squared, and 4 and 2 is 6, squared is 36, 5 minus 3, 2 squared is 4. So we get square root of 40. And remember, since we want r squared, this is r squared is 40. So we're going to say x plus 2 quantity squared plus y minus 3 quantity squared, and r squared is 40. And we're done. Find the center, radius, and intercepts of the circle and draw the graph x plus 3 quantity squared plus y minus 2 quantity squared equals 16. Well, the center is located at minus 3, positive 2, and the radius is 4. So if you want to compare it in this manner, you should be able to see the answer, but in case this is x minus minus 3, this is y minus 2, this is 4 squared, which means h and k and r are known. So this gives you details. So the center is negative 3 comma 2 and the radius is 4. we can create 4 points. That means put the 4 here and subtract from this, you get minus 7 comma 2. Add to this, you get 1 comma 2. Then put the 4 here, subtract from it, you get negative 3, negative 2. Add to it, you get negative 3, 6. So it's easy to get those points. So we have the center, we have those points, we have the graph. Now, to find intercepts, to find x-intercepts, set y equal to 0. Which means into this equation, replace the y with 0. This is 4 subtracted, you get 12. X plus 3 squared is 12. X plus 3 is plus minus square root of 12. And of course, 12 is 4 times 3, which makes it the 2 square root of 3. And move the 3 to the other side. Now, what this means, we have negative 3 plus minus 2 square root of 3 comma 0. Please understand, this is an exact answer, everybody. This is an exact answer, and it gives us 2 answers. One of them is minus 3, minus 2 square root of 3 comma 0. One of them is minus 3 plus 2 square root of 3, 0. Now, what is this? This is an approximation. You put this into a calculator. Square root of 3 is about 1.7. And you get those approximation for the sake of graph. And you may notice that this is 0.460, so roughly here. This is negative 6.460. This is minus 5. This is negative 6. So negative 6. So let me just do this actually. So we're talking about these 2 points. This one and this one. As you can see, it's pretty good. And if you want y-intercept, you set x equal to 0. So replace the x with 0. In which case we get 3 squared or 9. Subtracted from the other side, we get 7. So y minus 2 squared is 7. So y minus 2 is plus minus square root of 7, and y is 2 plus minus square root of 7. And again, these are the 2 y-intercept exactly. Okay. And then we do a rough and we come up with the answer. Okay. So 0, 2 plus 4.65, that means about 6.65, and 2 minus 4.65, which means, use a different color. These 2 points, everybody. Okay. So it's pretty straightforward. We find everything that they asked for. Using a graphing utility to graph a circle, finding equation of semicircles. Find equations for the upper half, lower half, right half, and left half of the circle. X squared plus y squared equals 81. As you know, this is a circle centered at 0, 0 with a radius of square root of 81 or 9, and it looks like that. So we have the top half, we have the bottom half, we have the right half, we have the left half. By the way, this is not a function. So if you separate the top half, from the bottom half. That means you solve for y. You get y squared equals 81 minus x squared. That means y is plus minus the square root of 81 minus x squared. And that gives you two pieces, the top piece with the plus sign and the bottom piece with the negative sign. So this part is y equals square root of 81 minus x squared. And this part is minus square root of 81 minus x squared. If we want the right and the left, we have to solve for x. So we are going to solve for x, which means x squared is 81 minus y squared. And x is plus minus square root of 81 minus y squared. I'm assuming, let's just quickly show that. So this tells us x squared is 81 minus y squared. Now, the positive one is the right half, the negative one is the left half. So we need to know the equation. So a quick recap. This is the equation of a circle, x squared plus y squared equals 81. You solve for x, you get the right and left half. You solve for y, you get the top and the bottom half, the formulas for it. And these two are functions, these two are not. This equation is in your homework, and there has been some questions, so I thought I will go over that for everybody. A small radio transmitter broadcasts in a 9-mile radius. If you drive along a straight line from a city 11 miles north of the transmitter to a second city 11 miles east of the transmitter, during how much of the drive will you pick up a signal from the transmitter? To make life easier, we are going to let the transmitter be the center of a circle centered at 0, 0. Remember, 9-mile radius, so 0, 0. The reason R is 9 because it says 9-mile radius, which is x squared plus y squared equals r squared, or 9 squared, or 81. So here's the center, and here's the circle. That means if we happen to be anywhere here inside the circle or on the circle, we can pick up the signal. If you drive along a straight line from a city 11 miles north of a transmitter, so 11 miles up here, to a second city 11 miles east, so that means somewhere from here, a city 11 miles north of the transmitter to a city 11 miles east of the transmitter. And if you connect these two, it gives us a line. So where can we pick up? Anywhere, and this is 0, 11, by the way, and this is 11, 0. We can pick up anywhere from here to here. This is outside, this is outside, but this is an easy equation. I can go with y equals mx plus b. I hope you recognize, because this is 0, 11, 0, 11, 0, you can calculate the slope as -1. So the line has the equation y equals minus x plus 11. I'm going to leave it for you to show that. It's very simple. So I'm using y equals mx plus b. So calculate the m, and the b, of course, is 11, right? So we know the equation. So from A to B, this is the distance we actually pick up the signal. Outside B and A, we are out of luck, we won't. So find the distance between A and B. To find the distance between A and B, we need to have the coordinates for each one. And we assume, obviously, A, for example, has coordinates x, comma, y. What is y? You can replace it with minus x plus 11. So just for the sake of argument, so you know, this one has coordinates x, comma, y, and y is minus x plus 11. And so if this point is on the circle, then it follows that x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So x squared plus y, we are going to replace it again with what? Negative x plus 11. Quantity squared equals r squared, or 9 squared, or 81. And we are going to solve for x. So this is x squared. Let's just actually do this quickly. This one class, this one is x squared minus 22x plus 121. This is 81. And so x squared and x squared is 2x squared. So what we do, we want to solve for x, so we are going to bring 81 to this side, becomes minus 81. Okay. And that becomes 40. Now, if I factor the 2 out, I get x squared minus 11x, 40 gives me 20. Now I want two numbers. The product is 20, the sum is minus 11, and I don't have such numbers. I have to go with the quadratic formula. X equals minus b plus minus the square of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Where a, I'm going to use this one. We don't need this one. X, a is 1. A is 1. B is negative 11. C is 20. So that's why this question takes a little bit of a time. It's pretty straightforward, but so put it into the quadratic formula. Do the math. So this is 121. This is 80. Subtract from it, you get 41. You get that 11 plus minus square root of 41 divided by 2. If you put this into a calculator, and you must roughly, you get 8.7 and 2.3. Which means this one can have coordinates 8.7 plug into this find y, and the other one, so this is actually 2.3, this is 8.7, and then plug it into minus x plus 11, or you can even plug it into the circle. It's easier to use the line. So if you plug in 8.7, you can find the y. If you plug in 2.3, you can find the y. And for 8.7, the y is 2.3. For 2.3, the y is 8.7. And therefore, you have the pairs 2.3, 8.7. So A has coordinates 2.3, 8.7. B has coordinates 8.7, 2.3. And now, of course, we are going to use the distance formula. This takes a little bit of a time, okay? Square root of x squared, x up to minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. So 8.7 minus 2.3 squared plus 2.3 minus 8.7 squared. And this, you have to put it into a calculator, square it, take a root, and the distance becomes 81.92 under the radical. If you take it out, about 9.05, about 9 miles. So this distance, so as we go from here to here, this distance of 9 miles or 9.05 miles, we can receive signals. Now, what I did, I used the line to come up with the two pairs. To check that, you want to make sure that you put this pair into x squared plus y squared, it must gives you 81, and the same. And when you do that, you do get 81. This is what I mean by checking. You can check by making sure that this works with the circle as well as the line.